Hello and welcome to Tech Deals. Black Friday 2021 is here and the deals are aplenty, even on graphics cards. Yes, you heard me correctly. We have multiple graphics cards to talk about today. Not tons and tons of them, but they are down in the video description below. We have CPUs, motherboards, power supplies, RAM, storage, monitors, desktops, laptops. This is going to be a very busy video. If you're interested in any of these deals, you will find links to all of them down in the video description below. Those are affiliate links. Using those links before you buy anything supports the channel at no extra cost to you and helps us keep the lights on and is greatly appreciated. Now, today's video is all about Newegg. We will do separate content on Amazon and other generic deals. We will do a live stream on Black Friday itself, covering the deals that go live on Thursday and Friday, as well as answer your questions, do comparisons, and have a general chat with all of you. But for now, let's get to the deals in a somewhat organized format. I said these deals are in a semi-organized format, and the reason for that is this is not a top 20 list counting down from the worst to the best deal. Instead, they are organized roughly into groups of similar style items, and there's a miscellaneous group with some random items tossed in there as well. So starting with our very first deal, in no particular order, we have some system RAM. This is the first time that we've seen name brand quality RAM at this price in months. G.Skill Ripjaws 5, 32 gigabytes, DDR4 3200, $99. For 32 gigs of RAM, that is really nice. Throughout the summer and fall of 2021, 32 gigs of RAM has been as much as $150. Now, 32 gigs used to be below $100 a year ago, back in 2020, but it has been a while, and it's nice to see this down at this price point. 32 gigabytes is really the sweet spot if you're buying new RAM today, either to upgrade an older system, replace the existing RAM so you have no compatibility issues, or in most new system builds. Or buy two of them and get 64, which is cheaper than buying a single 64 gig kit. Now, it is 32 megahertz RAM, and you can certainly get 3600, which is only a few dollars more. But the nice thing about 3200 is it's ultra compatible. Do you have a Ryzen 7 1700? Do you have an older i7 7700, 8700 you want to upgrade? 3200 will work in pretty much anything from the past 5+ years. Whereas when you get faster than this, you start to have to get picky on what motherboard do you have, what CPU do you have, is it supported? So this is a nice combination of price and almost assured compatibility. The Ryzen 7 5700G should be very interesting to those of you hunting for a graphics card. Do you play older games 3 to 5 years old at 1080p? Are you not interested in playing the latest and greatest AAA games? Then this CPU might be for you because it has integrated graphics that are good enough to play most games 3 years and older, 1080p, 60 frames per second at some level of detail. Might be high, might be medium, might even be low. But so long as you don't want to play Cyberpunk, a 5700G will do it without needing a dedicated graphics card. And of course, it has 8 cores and 16 threads, Zen 3, latest design, so if you want to add a graphics card in the future, you most certainly can. The 5700G is about 10% slower than a 5800X, so of course, if you have a dedicated graphics card, you may want to do that. But for $310, this is a remarkably good deal for the latest technology from AMD. If 8 cores doesn't cut it, finally we have the Ryzen 9 5900X 12-core 24-thread Zen 3 CPU for $499. $500 basically. This is the latest version of the Ryzen 9 CPU and the best value for the money in terms of cores and processing performance for the dollar spent. It has 2 6-core chips combined into a single Infinity Fabric, which is much better than the Ryzen 9 3900X, which was 4 3-core chips in a very complicated multi-way Infinity Fabric setup that worked, but created a lot of core-to-core latency and reduced direct L3 cache capability. If you've got a Ryzen 7 2700X, maybe even a Ryzen 7 3700X, and you would like to upgrade on your existing motherboard to something that will last you for several more years, continue to provide great performance, give you a bit more breathing room, then dollar for dollar, the Ryzen 9 5900X is the upgrade for you. Stepping up one more level from there, we have on sale today the Beast, the Ryzen 9 5950X 16-core 32-thread processor. It's basically two Ryzen 7 5800Xs glued together, two 8-core chips with only a single Infinity Fabric connecting them, 70 megabytes of on-chip cache, and it's effectively the best you're ever really going to get on the AM4 platform, minus the upcoming 3D cache Zen 3 refresh, which is likely to be expensive and unavailable for quite some time. You can wait for it, but for $720, you essentially get the best, or really close to it, and you can wait through the first maybe 1, 2, or even 3 revisions of the next generations of platforms, which are on DDR5, which is very expensive, big little hybrid architectures, which certainly have some bugs to be worked out. If you're building a new machine versus upgrading, you might consider spending the extra $220 to get the 5950X, which on a dollar-for-dollar basis is not as good a deal as the 5900X for just the cost of the CPU. But once you wrap around it, motherboard, cooler, RAM, storage, case, power supply, graphics card, once you compare complete build system cost to complete build system cost, you're looking at maybe a 10% difference, potentially only a 5% price difference between the two. And to go up to 16 cores basically means you can look at your computer and go, yeah, you're just done for a while. You're going to handle everything I throw at you, and I don't have to do anything else to you for years. So if you have the money, if you don't, this is a moot point, but if you have the money, I would encourage you to consider spending that $220, because in a year or two, if you want to upgrade, you can't just spend $200 to glue 4 more cores onto the 5900X. That's everything we have for CPUs for you today. Next up, we've got some storage, both SSDs and hard drives. The SSDs are kind of laid out in progression from worst to best, give or take, as we go through here. And the first one is very inexpensive, and it's very inexpensive. It is a $70 1 terabyte SATA SSD from Team Group. Now, Team Group makes a wide variety of products. If you're not familiar with them, they really have become a major player in the past few years. I've used their RAM, I've used their SSDs. You get what you pay for. Team Group does make premium products. This SSD is not one of them. It is DRAM-less, it is very basic, it is not all that fast, but if your alternative option is a hard drive, if it's basically $70 for this 1 terabyte SATA SSD, or that's it, all you can afford is a hard drive, well then this isn't so bad. So I would more look at this as a secondary drive for maybe a Steam game library or a Battle.net library to download 2 or 3 Call of Duty games. That's kind of frightening. Otherwise, I would strongly encourage you to spend the cost of lunch to get a little bit better SSD. That brings us to another budget SSD, 2 terabytes this time for $143. I am not personally familiar with this brand. I have not used it before. If I've used something like Team Group, I'll say yes, I have. In this case, not a clue. This strikes me as another very budget option that is cheap, and it is cheap. So again, likewise, if you're just looking to be able to store more than 2 or 3 Call of Duty games, sorry Activision, I am not wrong there, then this certainly would be an option for you if you are interested. But just like my previous comment, if you can afford a few dollars more, you really do get a much better drive. Speaking of better drives, the crucial MX500 serial ATA drive, this thing is a beast. Do you want premium TLC NAND, SLC caching, DRAM buffer, and one of the best SATA controllers in the business? Do you want incredible performance, both sustained and random, and the ability to sustain that performance over extended read-write sessions without the drive falling completely to pieces? You have come to the right place. I have reviewed the MX500 multiple times. It stands toe-to-toe with Samsung's best SATA drives, and it really is the choice if you can at all afford it. Speaking of which, for those of you who passed 5th grade math class, $167 minus $143 is approximately $25. For $25, you go from a no-name, cheap budget whatever, who knows what you're going to get SATA SSD, to one of the best SATA SSDs ever made. To be completely blunt, in my opinion, you have to be pretty stretched for cash to make that $25 worth saving. I would personally never save that $25. It is not worth it. I get why maybe people would buy the $70 drive just because they don't need 2 terabytes, or literally anything over $100 is unaffordable. And if that's the case, so be it. I respect that. But if you're looking at $143 for 2 terabytes, you should be looking at $167 for 2 terabytes, because the MX500 really is in a league all of its own with the Samsung 860 EVO, but it certainly beats the other 2 budget drives by a country mile. If SATA SSDs don't cut it, then you definitely want to move to an M.2 NVMe SSD. Now, there's a variety of options available today, including some Gen 3 drives, but you might consider stepping up to this MSI drive. It is a Gen 4 drive for Gen 3 prices. $239 after $20 mail-in rebate. Yes, I know I don't like those either, but it is what it is. So $239 is only $10 more than a Samsung 970 EVO Plus, but you go from Gen 3 speeds, which is a max 3.5 gigs per second, to Gen 4 speeds, which in theory is 7 gigs per second, but not in this case. This MSI drive is what's considered to be a first-gen Gen 4 drive, and all the first-gen drives generally maxed out at about 5 gigabytes per second. So it's kind of a 3.5 gen drive in essence, because it only splits the difference. There definitely are faster drives, but they cost more money. You get what you pay for. If you would like 2 terabytes of storage and the MX500 is not your thing, this deserves a look. I mentioned a second ago the Samsung 970 EVO Plus. Samsung has a couple of things going for them that previous MSI drive didn't. The Samsung Magician software, the Samsung NVMe driver, the Samsung Drive cloning software, which only works with the Samsung drive, and of course, their name, reputation, their warranty, and the fact that basically nobody ever went wrong buying a Samsung drive. For $229, you get 2 terabytes of 970 EVO Plus. This is one of the best Gen 3 drives made from any company, and frankly, if you just want completely fuss-free and everything works every time, this is the drive to buy. Just be aware, it is slower than the MSI drive. Whether that matters in the real world is a debatable point, and of course, if you have a Gen 3 platform, then it really doesn't matter. But if you're okay with that, then this is a really good price on a very premium drive. Last but certainly not least, we have hard drives. I actually only have 2 hard drive deals for you today, because if you want a small hard drive, there's these things called SSDs. And the price of lower end hard drives and SSDs are starting to close in on each other. The next maybe 2 years, maybe 3, I think we may see the smaller hard drives disappear completely as demand for them simply dissolves. In any case, today we have 2 Seagate Exos drives. These are the enterprise top-level drives made by Seagate, designed for 24/7, 365 use. They have 5-year warranties, 7,200 RPM speed, 256 meg on-chip onboard cache, and these are CMR, not SMR drives. No more shingled magnetic recording. That was kind of the thing that Seagate did for a while, and then they realized it was dumb and nobody really wanted it, and so they've kind of sort of pushed it to the back burner. These are premium high-performance drives. We own a lot of them ourselves. We have them in our Synology NASs. We have them in several external enclosures. They are great drives. They are not as good as SSDs, but considering that 309 will buy you the 16 terabyte version and 366 will buy you the 18 terabyte version, yeah, that's why you would buy them, is the amount of storage you get for the money. If you're looking at putting several of these together in either a NAS, such as a Synology or another brand, or you just want to put several into your machine and either run them separately or RAID 0 them together in order to get both more performance and a single very, very large drive with tons of capacity. Or maybe Microsoft Flight Simulator needs a texture cache for the world, because the world detail in Flight Simulator is actually over 2 petabytes in size, which is why it has to stream and download as you can go. And you can go into Flight Sim and you can select a region of the world and pre-download. And it would not be very hard to fill up a 16 or an 18 terabyte drive with pre-cached textures, so you're not having to download them as you fly around and as you play in the game. Or maybe you just have a really nice Steam library, or want to install all the Call of Duties, which might fit on one of those. In any case, I highly recommend them. They are very good drives, and you just have to pick which size you want, 16 or 18. Next up, we have our random collection of items, starting with a Blue Yeti microphone Blackout Edition. I actually own 2 of these, one for my house, one for my office. Now, I have a more expensive microphone overhead actually recording me as I do these on-camera bits, but when I do voiceovers of gameplay, stuff over on the Rogue Tech gaming channel, or when I was Twitch streaming, then we use the Blue Yeti microphones. They are by no means the best microphones in the world, but they're also $99. They plug into a USB port, they're very simple and easy to use, and very fuss-free. Now, there are less expensive microphones. There's Snowballs. Blue Yeti makes a smaller one as well that you can get for $40 or $50. But I think that if you're really wanting to do some voiceover recording work, $100 is a good place to start. If you want to spend more money, certainly there are $200 to $400 microphones, which are legitimately better than the Blue Yetis, but they are not $99. So if you're interested in a good price to performance microphone, give the Blue Yeti a try. Power protection and computer protection are very important things. No premium computer should be without an uninterruptible power supply, otherwise known as UPS. And I'm not referring to what does Brown do for you. That's the shipping company, not the power backup system. Now, UPSs are an interesting thing. UPSs are measured in something called VA, or volt amps, which means absolutely nothing to anybody unless you're an electrician or you're just a nerd like I am. But the truth of the matter is, it's not complicated to do the conversion. A 1500 VA UPS translates into 900 watts. Why do they use VA? Because 1500 sounds more impressive than 900. I wish it was more complicated than that, but it's not. It's called marketing. The Backups Pro that normally is about $220 is $30 off. Now, $30 off a $220 item might not seem like a lot, but these don't go on sale every day. It's one of those sort of evergreen products that you just sort of buy when you need. If you've been putting off buying one, I highly recommend them. We own over 6 of these in the office, and they're on all of our most important computers. Our Threadripper video editing, my Cascade Lake X machine, my gaming machine at home, all of our important machines have one of these on there. You can buy cheaper UPSs. However, the Backups Pro puts out a pure sine wave as opposed to the stair-stepped wave of cheaper UPSs. The quality of the power that comes out of these on batteries is actually better than the cheaper. You go buy yourself a $99 UPS and you plug it into your $3,000 gaming PC, you just hate your computer because it puts out this block stair-stepped non-sine wave power pattern, which isn't good for your power supply or computer. Yes, modern power supplies can mostly correct for it, but it isn't good for it, and it's better to have a pure sine wave power supply. And there's some other features on this which are really nice as well. Charge your cell phone. There's a USB type A and C port, which provides direct DC power to charging devices right out the front. Easy power draw measurement. It also has a USB cable which plugs into your computer, which will suspend, sleep, or shut down your machine if the power goes out while you're not there, and some other very nice features. I really, really like these, and I honestly think they're worth their weight in gold if you have a premium computer. After that very serious conversation about UPSs, let's have some fun. The Oculus Quest 2 virtual reality headset. Now, I've talked about VR on this channel in the past. We've never really done any detailed reviews of them, although we've played with several sets. We've got a PlayStation VR at home, and we've used the HTC Vive Pro, which is nice but really expensive, especially when you kit it out with all the accessories. The Oculus Rift has been out for a while, but the problem with all of those setups is they have cables and require a high-powered computer, or in the case of the PSVR, a PlayStation to plug in which case the graphics aren't all that great, but it is what it is. How would you like to spend $250 to get a modern, reasonably good quality VR setup, no PC required? I don't think they've done a very good job marketing this because I don't think it's obvious unless you've really looked into it. This doesn't require a computer. It has basically an ARM chip built into it, and it will play games, VR games, on battery power, untethered from your computer, and it'll let you get full range of motion and have some fun. It will also work with your computer as a dedicated VR device. So if you have a nice big high-end powered gaming computer and you want high-resolution graphics and the latest and greatest games, it will do that as well. But if you just want to get a game of Beat Saber in, You don't need an RTX 3090 to play Beat Saber. You really don't. And so the fact that you have the option to play untethered on lower power games or tethered for high power games is pretty cool. Now, the price on Newegg is $299, but they got a $50 promotional gift card, which they'll send you 4 days after they invoice it and ship it out. So it's $300 up front, but I'm willing to bet that most of you are going to buy something in the future from Newegg, so you get a $50 gift card that you have a year to spend somewhere on there. I am curious to see all of your comments in the comment section below about how you guys feel about Oculus and Facebook. They used to have a requirement that you log into a Facebook account to use it, but Facebook has announced that they're removing that. So for those of you who don't like Facebook, that's a good thing. Making a turn back to PC component deals, we have probably the liquid cooler deal of the year. How would you like a premium ARGB 280mm liquid cooler, not $240, not $100, not $80, not even $60. How about $49? You heard me right. This is not a 240. It is a 280. So it has a pair of 140mm fans with 36% more surface area on the radiator and fans than a 240. It's nearly as much surface area as a 360mm liquid cooler, which is only 14% larger than a 280. This is the Cooler Master Master Liquid 280mm cooler. Now, there's a promo code which takes it down to $59, and then there's a $10 mail-in rebate. Whether you want to bother with a $10 mail-in rebate is a personal choice that only you can make. I know, mail-in rebates, but it is what it is. But that does bring the price down to $49. I don't actually ever remember a 280 being $49. I've seen them in the $69 to $75 price range in previous Black Fridays. This is the lowest price I can ever remember seeing one in the past. And what makes this one interesting is it has RGB on the actual pump head, but no RGB in the fans. Now, some of you may be saying, well, is that really RGB? Well, that's a personal preference as to whether you care, but there's a benefit. Fewer wires and cables. Whenever you have a liquid cooler where everything is RGB, you do have to keep in mind that every fan then has two cables, a power cable and an RGB cable. This one is only going to have RGB to the pump head, so it does simplify your cabling. And if you don't mind, this is a screaming deal for $49. In all fairness, not everybody has a computer case that is designed to accept a 280mm liquid cooler. Many are, but some aren't. You might want a 360. Now, this unfortunately is not $49, but for a 360mm liquid cooler, $95 is still a very good price. And to help justify that price, all the fans are ARGB. Again, that comes down to preference, whether you want them to be or not. But the fact that it does in fact come with 3 ARGB fans does add value. Those aren't cheap. So $95 gets you an MSI 360mm liquid cooler, and it's important to note that both the MSI cooler and the Cooler Master cooler contain the LGA 1700 bracket required by Alder Lake, the new, no longer square format that Intel introduced with the 12th generation of CPUs. So if you're looking for a premium cooler for your new 12th gen Alder Lake CPU, both of these support it out of the box. It's all well and good to have an awesome computer. If you don't have a monitor to look at, it really doesn't work now, does it? We have 4 different monitor options to take a look at today, ranging from reasonably priced and reasonably capable to very big, very expensive, very fancy with all the things. Starting off, we have an Acer 27-inch 1440p 144Hz FreeSync monitor for $220. This is a really good price for a reasonably full-featured monitor. It's not the most fancy monitor in the world. In fact, we've got another 27-inch to talk about here in a second. The biggest difference might be the stand and the fact that this is a VA monitor and the one we're about to look at is IPS. But if you are happy with a VA monitor, if you don't care about height adjustable stands, or perhaps you're going to use your own mount, you have a VESA mount on there, then for $220 from Acer, this is worth looking at. Monitors are highly personal things. Me, I absolutely think this monitor is worth stepping up to over the Acer if you don't mind having a Gigabyte brand monitor. Of course, keep in mind that neither Acer nor Gigabyte actually make monitors. They buy panels from LG or Samsung, and then they put them into a shell and a casing and put a stand on there, and they call it a day. This is $259. It is 1440p, 27-inch, 144 Hz, but unlike the Acer, this one is IPS or in-plane switching. Better color accuracy, 92% DCI-P3 color accurate. That's very nice. That means everything's going to be more vivid. The colors will be more accurate and correct to what they should be. We have a height adjustable stand included. It really, if you go back and forth between the two, it really does have a better stand. It has a KVM switch, keyboard video mouse switch built in, so you can plug in two computers to it and switch back and forth if you are interested. And it really isn't that much more expensive. So if that's what you're looking for, I would pick the Gigabyte over the Acer, unless you either really want a VA or you really don't like Gigabyte. What's better than one 27-inch 1440p monitor? How about two 27-inch 1440p monitors? And how about we glue them together with no bezel in the middle and we make it 240 Hertz? Yes, that's absolutely, utterly insane. The Samsung Odyssey G9 is ridiculous. It is 49 inches, but it's no taller than a 27-inch monitor. It's just really, really, really wide with a very sharp diagonal curve. And the monitor has a fairly decent curve to it as well, so your peripheral vision stays in focus with the rest of the monitor. The resolution is just over 5,100 pixels, and you can think of it as exactly two 2560 by 1440p screens stuck together with a very, very, very wide viewing angle. 240 Hertz. That is a ridiculous refresh rate. If you are a first-person shooter gamer, if you want the very best frame rates for your action games, there you go. Just be aware that at that resolution, you need all the graphics card. So you basically either need a RX 6900 XT or an RTX 3090, because anything less really doesn't make any sense. What is nice is the price. For just over $1,000, you're getting a monitor that originally retailed for well north of that. It is a very good deal. Now, it is not the latest version of the G9, which is called the Neo, but the Neo is still $2,000. It's impressive, but it's twice the price, and I don't think for most people it's worth it unless budget is simply no consideration. Last but certainly not least, we have effectively a television that's been adapted to become a computer monitor. This is a 48-inch 4K monitor. At that size, it's really a television that simply had a stand and a remote and a few other things put onto it designed to be used as a computer monitor, but it would also make a very nice television or perhaps a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X gaming console monitor, because it does have HDMI 2.1 included. It's also $1,300. And I know some of you are going to say, wait a minute, 48-inch, 4K, $1,300? Are you crazy? You can buy a 4K 48-inch TV for way less than that price. Yes, you can. And frankly, you can buy very nice ones for half that price. But this one is an OLED. 120 Hertz. And that's why it's $1,300. And that's why it's a good deal at $1,300. If you've never seen an OLED in person, you simply do not know what that means. You have to see it in person. There's nothing you can see on, I know people have done videos with comparisons. I've looked at them. Yeah, you can kind of see the difference on a YouTube video. I've seen them in person side by side. I have seen two very, very nice Samsung panels in the store. One was a QLED and the other was an OLED. They both had a premium signal being sent to them. And it's sort of like, oh, yeah, there it is. And one of them was like the QLED was half the price of the OLED, but it smack you upside the head with a cold, wet fish, obvious. You they don't even need labels on them. You just walk over and go, oh, okay, old and crap, new and amazing. How much is this one? Never mind, old and crap is lovely. Yes, really, they are expensive, but they are gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. The one we were looking at in the store was a bit larger than this, but it was $3,500. One of the best TVs I've ever seen. Absolutely, it looked like a moving moving photograph. It was absolutely amazing. The blacks were like blacker than black. The color and the contrast. It looked like I was looking at a moving 35mm photograph. It's amazing, but it was stupid money. $1,300, 48-inch OLED? That's impressive. Now, this particular monitor, of course, I've never seen in person. I don't know if it's as good as that Samsung I saw in person, but I'm hitting that point home to make you guys aware of the fact that if you've never seen an OLED in person, you need to. I would encourage all of you to go find a side-by-side demonstration in a store somewhere and go see LED versus OLED, and then hopefully you will all come to the same conclusion I did, which is right. That's what my next TV is definitely going to be, because you're going to keep it for a long time, and it's really, really nice. And I mentioned PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. This does have HDMI 2.1, so this will do 4K, 120 hertz true refresh rate, not some simulated or motion compensated crap. It really will on the new consoles. And your computer, when you can get an RTX 5090 for all the money in the world and actually run your games at that speed, but it's there for when you need it. This is the kind of monitor you buy and go, I'm keeping this for a long time. Moving on to cases, I have a couple of case deals for you, including, depending upon your point of view, a free one. Who wants a free modern computer case design that even includes a 5.25-inch drive bay for, say, a Blu-ray player or DVD reader and writer? Yes, I know I said it's free, and I know that's a little bit clickbaity. However, this case is $79, and it includes 5 ARGB fans. Go price ARGB fans and tell me how much 5 ARGB fans cost. Right. Basically, you buy the 5 fans and you get a free case. Or maybe even better than that, because there are some brands of ARGB fans that cost more than that. This includes mesh in the front for cooling, a door that can be opened or closed to expose the third fan in the front, and a 5.25-inch drive bay. How many modern cases come with a 5.25-inch drive bay to put something into? That's pretty cool, but it's not an old case design. It has the modern USB ports on it. It has modern airflow on it. It has room for 3 3.5-inch hard drives inside and 3 2.5-inch SSDs inside, in addition to whatever you can mount on the motherboard and all the other modern accoutrements. Now, is this case going to be super premium the way a $150 or $200 case is going to be? Of course not. It's $79. Don't expect that. But value for the money and a 5.25-inch drive bay, this might be worth taking a look at if you're interested in some RGB fans and some storage support. Going completely the other direction for the same price, $79, we have the Corsair 4000D Airflow Edition. This does not come with any ARGB whatsoever, and you certainly don't have to install any if you would like a blackout build. You can, but if you're looking for value for the money on a premium case, take a look at this. Now, I have the 5000D case, which is taller than the 4000D. I don't have a 4000D myself, but having messed around with the 5000D, I can tell you this is a really nice case to build in. Plenty of room, great cable management at the back, great fan mounting options, plenty of room for a motherboard. This is a really, really good case from Corsair. I've had a hit and miss relationship with Corsair over the years. Some of their cases I absolutely love. Their Obsidian 750D, epic. Some of their recent Crystal cases are too much glass and not enough cable management and options, but these new D Airflow cases are very nice. Now, if the 4000D is not your cup of tea, and you want something larger, the 5000D is not on sale, but the 7000D is. Be warned, this is a full tower case, and this is the replacement for the Obsidian 750D that I have made multiple videos about and done multiple builds in. It is huge. It has room for custom open loop cooling. It has room for basically any liquid cooler on the roof of the case that you want without blocking anything on your motherboard, which most cases don't do. Most cases, if you put a decent liquid cooler on the top, you end up covering the top of your motherboard, making accessing anything ridiculously difficult. There are more drive storage options in this thing than you can shake a stick at. There are more fan installation mount options than you can shake a stick at, including many fans in the front and 4 fans on the side to bring airflow, which you can either set up with a 360 or even 480 millimeter liquid cooler going down the side, which is utterly insane, but you can do it. So you can have normal fans in the front, liquid cooler on the side, liquid cooler on the top, multiple liquid cooling options. You could put a dozen fans in this case. You can put an EATX oversized Threadripper or whatever Intel's going to come out with next mother. This is sort of the case. This is the case where you can kind of go, I can put anything in here I want, and I can upgrade to anything I want in the next 10 years, and pretty much this will take anything that you want to put in there. Be warned, it is massive. If you've never had a full tower case before, it's not small, and it's also $230. But it's a lot of case for the money, and if you're looking for something that is sort of no limits, take a look at this one. Next, we have 3 power supplies for you to pick from: small, medium, and redonkulous. First up, $49. This is a Thermaltake 5-year warranty, 80 plus gold, 600 watt power supply for just $49. Now, it is not super premium, it's not fully modular, it doesn't have a 10-year warranty, it's not the best of the best. However, not everybody needs a super premium best of the best power supply. If you think you're going to upgrade to something amazing in the future, maybe you should overbuy your power supply a bit and give yourself some room. I know I've had to change power supplies more than once because I didn't have enough in a case. On the other hand, I know there are tons of you out there who have mid-range systems and you plan to upgrade to the next mid-range system. I may not be a fan of a Ryzen 5 5600X, but I know plenty of you had Ryzen 5 1600Xs and 2600Xs, and you upgraded to a 5600X, and you upgraded to an RX 6700 XT or an RTX 3060, and the truth of the matter is 600 watts is absolutely, totally, 100% plenty for those levels of builds. You do not need 850, you don't need 1,000 or anything crazy like that. $49 gets you a new power supply. If you have an older power supply, 5 years old, 10 years old, maybe you have a power supply that doesn't have the right connectors, maybe the fan is going out on it, it's making a funny noise, you're getting coil whine from it, and you're just like, I don't know about that. I wanted to upgrade my computer and my current power supply is kind of sketch. Get a new one for $49. Why in the world would you run some old, out-of-date, sketchy power supply when you can just get a brand new one and not worry about it? That being said, there are more powerful options if you're going to do something more than a 5 series CPU and a mid-range graphics card. The Seasonic Focus 80 Plus Gold series of power supplies, I have reviewed them previously on my channel. I have 2 of them and use them, one in a build, one on one of my test benches. This is 850 watts. This will cover almost any need short of a extremely super premium system build. Basically, you need more than this if you're building in that Corsair 7000D. Otherwise, the 850 is just fine. $105. Now, I'll be the first to admit, this is double the price of the 600 watt, and not everybody needs it. However, 10-year warranty, fully modular, fluid dynamic bearing fan, so it's extremely silent, and that fan should last basically until the heat death of the universe. Not quite, but it'll last long enough. And you simply get a more premium power supply. Seasonic is a primary OEM of power supplies. They make a very good unit, and if I was to be completely honest, it's a better unit than the Thermaltake for twice the price. This is sort of the sweet spot where I think most people should be if you're looking for a power supply for either an upgrade or a new build where you want to give yourself some headroom so you can upgrade to a better graphics card or a better CPU in the future. Speaking of that 7000D, if you're buying that case, this power supply is for you. 1200 watts, 80 plus platinum. This is the new P3 from EVGA. The P2 has been out for years. It needed a refresh. This one is only 180 millimeters long. It is noticeably shorter than the P2, making cable management easier and fitting into more cases. 98% of you do not need a 1200 watt power supply. Those of you who do, hopefully you know who you are. And if you do, then this is a really good deal. $230 for a 1200 watt power supply is a really, really good price these days. High-end power supplies have been hard to find because, I hate to say it, crypto miners have been buying them all, but also just due to the general shortages of supplies, high-end capacitors, high-end components. These are the premium best of the best. These have been in the $300 to $350 range for quite some time. I am shocked to see not only a 1200 watt 80 plus platinum, but the new P3 from EVGA at this price. If you need one, this is definitely the one to buy. Next up, we have a series of 6 motherboards to take a look at, ranging in price from $99 to close to $200. How much motherboard you should buy depends upon your system and your use case. How many features do you want? How much of a CPU do you want to put on there? How much future expandability do you want? What kind of power delivery? How many USB ports, etc. Buying a nicer motherboard is kind of like putting a better foundation under your house. You wouldn't spend a fortune to build the best foundation ever under the cheapest house. And you certainly shouldn't put the cheapest foundation ever under a very expensive house. So buy a motherboard that goes with your system. And if in doubt, maybe go one notch up from where you think you might want to be, because you can never just spend an extra $20 or $30 later to buy a nicer motherboard. First up, we have an X570 from Gigabyte. This is a very nice, well-rounded board. Certainly not top of the line by any stretch or definition, but certainly not budget either. Would I put a Ryzen 9 5900X on this? You bet I would. Would I put a Ryzen 9 5950X on this? You could. I wouldn't. I'd go up a stretch from this. In fact, frankly, I would go ahead and spend closer to $300 on a board, because if you have $700 money for a CPU, spend more than $189 on your board. You could, but I wouldn't personally. But I would put a 5900X on this, absolutely. I'd put a Ryzen 7 5700G on this if I wanted the extra features, the extra M.2 slots, the extra USB ports, the power delivery, the option to go to a 5950X in the future someday, which, again, I wouldn't do on day one, but you could if you wanted to. It has the power delivery to handle it. I just don't think it has the feature set to handle it, at least if that's your initial build. It has a fixed IO shield, and frankly, it has everything that you're likely to want in a nice mid-range X570 motherboard for AMD. On the other hand, if money is tight and you're going with a Ryzen 7 5700G for $309, as I mentioned earlier, and you simply have to get a decent-ish motherboard, but the reason you're going with a 5700G is because you can't afford a graphics card because prices are El Loco, and so you're going, I'm going to start with this. It's better than my 5-year-old machine. What do I get? This $99 Gaming X board has the benefit of being a full-size ATX board for $99, and there's very, very few of those. Now, be warned, all the features on this board, except for its power delivery, which are absolutely fine for a Ryzen 7, have been stripped clean. The onboard audio, the onboard LAN, the USB ports, the expansion stuff, it's fine, but it's very basic. And so you're getting very basic. So it's fine if you're on a budget. Just realize that if your goal is to slowly work your computer up to super premium, I would spend more than this in order to give yourself a better foundation for that future growth. The ASRock B550 Extreme is $40 more, which is in fact, in fairness, 40% more than the Gaming X from Gigabyte. But everything is nicer on this board. Sound, LAN, USB ports, cooling, power delivery. If you've got the $40 and you're going with the Ryzen 7 5700G, if you can spring for this board, I would do so. It really is worth it because you can never spend the $40 and upgrade to it. It is what I would put that chip onto. If you're going with a Ryzen 9 5900G and for whatever reason you don't like Gigabyte and the Aorus one I showed you earlier, you could put a Ryzen 9 5900G on this just fine. Again, I wouldn't put a 5950X on it on a new build, but you could upgrade to a 5950X in the future when they're cheaper, and it'll certainly do it. It has the power delivery for it. Next up, we have a pair of $100 B550 micro ATX boards. Putting together a smaller system, a mini tower case instead of a full-size case, then this might be what you want to look at. Now, the first board here is $99, and it's the Gigabyte Aorus Pro. It's nicely configured, equipped. It's actually, in some regards, better equipped than the Gaming X full-size ATX board that I showed you earlier, because even though it's the same price, because it's a smaller board, they can afford to put a few extra features on there, 2 M.2 slots and some other things as well. The ASRock Steel Legend B550 Micro ATX is $10 more at $109, but I don't think $10 if you're building a machine should really matter. I have built a system with that board. I put a Ryzen 7 3200X on there, and it runs just fine with no complaints, full turbo whatsoever. There are some compromises on micro ATX boards that I suspect a lot of people don't think about. So don't buy a micro ATX board, and certainly don't buy a cheap one unless you know what you're getting into and you're aware of it. A really simple example, the micro ATX version of the B550 Steel Legend, the bottom M.2 slot is 2 lanes, not 4. That's not a Gen thing. The bottom slot's always going to be a Gen 3 on a B550, but on the full-size ATX board, it's 4 full lanes. On the micro ATX version, it's only 2 lanes, so it'll only ever run at half speed. So it's thus, if you're putting on a QLC drive or a slow drive, it's not really a big deal. But if you were to put on that Samsung 970 EVO Plus on there, you would cut the drive speed in half because of the fact that that bottom slot is limited, and that's not a limitation on the full-size ATX version of that board, which does cost more money, so that's kind of understandable. Just be aware of it, but it is a very nice board with some very nice features. Finally, last but not least, that brings us to an ITX board. Please don't all fall down at once. Yes, I am talking about an ITX board. Those of you not familiar with our regular content know I don't do ITX builds. I've actually never done an ITX build. I've had several ITX boards. I've almost done ITX builds once or twice and then ultimately went, that's just too small. Disclaimer, I'm from Texas. Everything's bigger here. We have big houses, big rooms, and big computers, and I just don't need an ITX build, so I've just never been able to bring myself to do one. For those of you who need one, fair play. This is a B550 ITX board. It is 25% off. ITX boards tend to be ridiculously expensive, and usually they're over $200. This one from ASRock is $149, and it's nicely equipped with a decent selection of features, at least for what you can fit onto the ridiculously small size of ITX. If you're interested in such a build, take a look at this one. Finally, that brings us to video cards, and I had 5 video card deals to show you. Between the time I put the deal list together and the time I sat down to record this, 2 of the 5 went out of stock. By the time you watch this edited video, there is the distinct possibility these will all be out of stock. This is why you should follow me on Twitter or join the Tech Deals Discord link down below. We have a public chat channel available temporarily during the holiday season, just dedicated to deals. All of these got posted early in the morning on Monday when these were in stock, and they were in stock for several hours, posted there for everybody to see. But unfortunately, if you wait for the videos, a lot of times they just don't last. So the 2 least expensive cards are, of course, gone. However, we have a very, very nice Sapphire Nitro RX 6700 XT 12GB graphics card for under $900. Sapphire makes some of the best AMD cards in the business. Their Nitro Plus is their top-end card. This is a big, huge, ridiculously oversized triple fan card. It will never overheat. Be warned, you need a fairly decent sized case for this. It is taller, wider, longer, thicker, bigger. It's the ultimate oversized. This card has a cooler that would cool an RX 6900 XT on it. It really is overkill. But it's pretty, it's nice, it's big, it'll be quiet, it'll be cool. And it comes with some game bundles as well, which is pretty nice. And it's in stock, at least as ever I record this. For most people looking to put together a mid-range machine, this is the value for the money option if you're simply looking to play at 1080p or 1440p for several years and you want to get something that's not on eBay. Having said that, if you have a bit more money to spend and you'd like to step up to the best, there are 2 RX 6900 XT cards available at the lowest price I have seen in months. We have the MSI Gaming Z Trio. Yes, you heard me right, Gaming Z, not Gaming X. I don't know why they changed the X to a Z, but they did. But it basically looks like the Gaming X that many of you are familiar with. 16 gigabytes of GDDR6 RAM, $1,499. $1,500 basically. Comes with 2 separate game bundles, which is nice. Far Cry 6, Resident Evil 8, and another game bundle from AMD. And this is at least $200 less than I have seen it in as long as I can remember. Now, $1,500 is a lot to spend for a video card. I hear you. I get it. I mean, right now, yeah, I can hear you. You're all like, $1,500 for a video card, Tech, are you crazy? Well, you could buy an RTX 3090 for over $2,500. They should be $1,500. In fact, you're going to be hard-pressed to find any 3090 or even a 3080 Ti for much less than that. You might get lucky and find a 3080 Ti for right around $2,000. But for $1,500, this is absolutely the deal at the moment. It's the current top-end card from AMD. It's got tons of VRAM on there, great performance. In some games, the 6900 XT is faster than a 3090. Now, to be clear, with DLSS and the new DLSS 2.3 that just got released, and in ray tracing situations, the RTX cards destroy the AMD cards. So if you love ray tracing, you have to go with NVIDIA. Their ray tracing is a whole generation ahead of AMD's. However, if you don't care about ray tracing and you don't like DLSS, or maybe you play at 1440p and so it really isn't that important, the 6900 XT has the performance to play at 1440p without needing any of those enhancements. I know FSR exists. I've done side-by-side comparisons of FSR and DLSS, and no, don't bother. Play at 1440p on a high refresh rate monitor with ray tracing turned off, and a 6900 XT is pretty freaking awesome. Pair this card with either of the Ryzen 9 CPUs, and you've got a machine that you can basically just ignore hardware for the next couple of years and play everything that comes out. On the other hand, some of you don't like MSI and would prefer ASRock. ASRock has their Phantom Gaming D card, also for $14.99, with the same game bundles as the MSI Gaming Z Trio. It's simply a pick your preference. Which cooler do you like? Which manufacturer do you like? Which style do you like? That's just a personal preference. They're both the same price. They both have the same game bundles, and you just have to pick which one you want for the amazingly good deal of $1,500. I know. Next, we have some gaming laptops and gaming desktop options, starting off with a $1,000 gaming laptop, the Gigabyte G5. i5 10500H, which is a 6-core, 12-thread, 45-watt high-performance laptop processor. Think of it sort of as a slightly detuned i7 8700K, roughly in that vein, but maybe a few hundred megahertz slower clock speed. 16 gigabytes of RAM, a 512 gig NVMe drive built in, an RTX 3060 graphics card, and a 15.6-inch 1080p Full HD IPS 144Hz display. Gaming laptops will always come with compromises. However, for $1,000, that's a solid choice. To get an RTX 30 series card, and yes, it is slower than the desktop card. A desktop 3060 with 12 gigs of VRAM will be faster than the one built into the laptop. On the other hand, the laptop is $1,000 and includes the screen, keyboard, mouse, and everything else included. It's a full computer, whereas if you just buy a desktop, which we're going to show you one of those here in a second, it's more than this, and you still need a monitor, keyboard, mouse, and all that. Storage is a bit limited, RAM's a bit limited, it can be expanded, but laptops are a compromise. On the other hand, some of you want a laptop. You may say, well, okay, that's fine. It's inexpensive, it's $1,000 even, it comes complete, ready to go. Just be aware that while this laptop will play Cyberpunk 2077, it won't do it with ray tracing turned up to ultra, not even with DLSS turned on. It really won't. It would do 1080p high detail in Cyberpunk with DLSS turned off, with ray tracing turned off. You might have to turn DLSS to quality. But with ray tracing off at high detail, it may very well do that. It's a compromise option. But if you don't care about Cyberpunk, if you don't care about Assassin's Creed Valhalla, if you play maybe last year's games, then it really is enough. Just be aware, it's probably not going to be a 5-year laptop. I mentioned a desktop similar to that laptop, and that's what we have right here. For $1,200, 20% more, you get an i5 10400 6-core 12-thread CPU, 65 watts. So it is actually a little bit faster than the laptop chip, although in truth, not tremendously so, but it is a little bit faster. We have a 500 gig SSD, 16 gigs of RAM, and an RTX 3060 graphics card, except this is a full desktop card with 12 gigs of VRAM. It is faster by some amount, but it doesn't include a monitor, and it's not like a full setup, and it's not 5 pounds with a battery and travels with you. So, and it's also 20% more money. It is, however, fully upgradable. This is an ABS or Advanced Battle Stations computer from Newegg. These are built by Newegg, and they use standard industry off-the-shelf component. So it's going to come with a motherboard from ASUS, Gigabyte, ASRock, or MSI. It's going to come with standard RAM, standard cooler, standard parts. You can upgrade these for years and years to come, unlike a laptop. So that is kind of nice. The only downside to this $1,200 machine, it's got glass in the front, which is pretty, and the RGB is nice. And honestly, with an RTX 3060 and an i5-10400F, it does not matter. I have one of these glass cases with glass on the front. There's vents on the side to bring air in. It does kind of suck for airflow, but at that configuration, it's fine. But it limits your future upgrade options unless you're willing to replace the case. If, on the other hand, you're okay to spend $100 more, if you go, well, $1,200, but I'd rather have a better case. And isn't there a better CPU available? Yes, there is. For $100 more, or $1,300, you can have basically the same computer, except swap out the i5-10400F for an i5-11400F. Basically, you go from Comet Lake to Rocket Lake, and you gain 5 to 10% more performance per core. It's a minor change, but it's not nothing. It's nice. The 11400K is faster. And you switch to a mesh airflow case where the entire front of the case is a fine mesh, which allows far, far more airflow. It just kind of obscured the RGB fans a little bit, but that's the trade-off when you go for airflow. And if you're okay to spend that extra $100, that case will last through more upgrades because of that mesh front. Interestingly enough, I had a look at everything in the mid-range of pre-builts, and I wasn't jumping up and down about any of them due to either a component included or not included or the price they were being offered at. So we're going to jump all the way from $1,300 to $3,200. And I know that's a huge leap, and some of you are going to say, come on, man, I looked at Newegg's site. I saw a $1,700 machine. I saw a $2,200 machine. How come you're not telling me about those? Because none of those are interesting. They're either the wrong combination of parts, or they don't have a good cooler, or they have a bad video card, or they have a bad CPU. They stick a 3080 on a 6-core chip, which, despite some people claiming that's a good idea, that's an absolutely terrible idea. And so I looked through the entire collection going, what's a good deal? And I landed on this one. Now, this is a beast, and it's not cheap, but it's actually a remarkably good deal. And if any of you are interested in a premium build, don't count this one out before you take a look at its parts. Ryzen 9 5950X, 16-core 32-thread beast. That's a $720 CPU. This has an RTX 3080 Ti, not a 3080, it has a Ti, 12 gigs of VRAM, GDDR6X, and these cards are going for close to $2,000. For those of you who passed 5th grade math class, $700 plus $2,000 is $2,700. $3,200 minus $2,700 is $500. Now let's take a look at the rest of the parts in this. 32 gigs of RAM, thank the Lord. 16 gigs on a 16-core system is dumb. I would almost argue it needs 64, but that's a separate conversation. 32 gigs of TridentZ RGB RAM, that's very, very nice. We have a 1 terabyte Gen4 NVMe drive, and it's a premium drive, not some QLC drive. It's not some DRAM-less pile of junk. This is a Gen4 Gigabyte Aorus NVMe drive with SLC cache, DRAM buffer, and premium performance. I have one. It's the boot drive in our Threadripper. So this is a really, really good choice. We have an ASUS TUF X570 motherboard. We have a 240mm liquid cooler. We have an 850-watt 80-plus gold power supply. We have a mesh tower case. Add up the cost of those components. I challenge you to build this machine for less than the value of those components. And it comes built with a warranty from ABS, with everything ready to run out of the box with Windows 10 already installed, free upgrade to Windows 11. Ironically, the most expensive computer build in this deal series is actually the best deal in terms of what the components are currently worth on the market and what it would cost you to build it, and the fact that there really isn't anything bad in this build. Maybe the only exception being if I personally was going to put together a machine like this. Would I use this case? No. I would build this in that 7000D from Corsair personally before I would build it, because this is a relatively inexpensive case. It's got good airflow, it's got good mesh, but it's still a cheap case. It is what it is. This is what they build them in, so you can always replace that in the future if you want, but it will work just fine out of the box without any issues. And for $3,200, you can buy this and just not worry about upgrading for years to come. That concludes our Newegg video for the Black Friday 2021 special deals. Now, this is everything released as of Monday before Black Friday. There will almost certainly be special deals throughout the week. There will be daily deals. There will be doorbusters advertised on the morning of Black Friday. I am sure we will be live streaming the morning of Black Friday. And of course, I will be posting on Twitter and the Tech Deals Discord special deals throughout the week and certainly the morning of Black Friday itself. If you are interested in chatting about these deals or sharing any of your own deal finds, the Tech Deals Discord is linked down in the video description below. Now, the Tech Deals Discord is, for the most part, a members-only benefit. People who hit the join button on YouTube, people who are Floatplane subscribers, Twitch subscribers, or patrons have access to 20 different private chat channels over there and a great community of tech enthusiasts and basically fans of the channel, which all of you are greatly appreciated. But for special events like Black Friday, I make one public chat channel available so everybody can come in and talk about the events of the day. And in this case, it is Black Friday. So if any of you want to come over and chat about deals, please consider joining the Tech Deals Discord, and you will see stuff posted there before I post it anywhere else. Get early access to deals and post your own deals, and feel free to ask the Tech Deals community what they think of it, because of course I can't possibly cover anything. Like this video if you like it, share it with your friends if you love it. Remember, subscribe to the channel with the big huge red button directly below. If you love our channel and want to support us, use the links in the video description. They don't cost you anything extra. Hit them before you buy anything. Doesn't matter, even if it's a jar of peanut butter. Okay, Newegg doesn't sell peanut butter, but there is an Amazon link in every one of our video descriptions. And if you use that link before you buy a jar of peanut butter, we actually get a commission on it, even if it's not a link to the peanut butter. That is true at Amazon, eBay, Newegg, and pretty much every link down in the video description below. And using those links is a great way to proactively choose which content creators you want to support. You are inevitably clicking on links all over the internet, so somebody's getting your affiliate money. This way you get to be proactive and choose who you support. If you want to directly support us, smashing that join button next to the subscribe button, if it's available in your country, is a wonderful way to support. For just $2 per month, access to all the private Tech Deal channels over on the Tech Deals Discord, and you get a nice badge next to your name in the comments and on live streams, so we know that you are a supporter. Thank you so much for watching. I will see all of you next time.